بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي واغفر لنا وارحمنا وأنت خير الغافرين. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. So last time we spoke about many things, but because we are continuing about a little bit about the Bitcoin, just want to revise why did we say that the Bitcoin is haram. And we said that there is a danger of losing it. For example, if someone forgot the password for his Bitcoin, it's going to be lost, so there is no way to redeem your money that you have put in that Bitcoin, and that's an ambiguity. Whereas, for example, if you lost the login details for your account, you can go to the bank and you get your money. But the Bitcoin, there's no owner for it, and so you're not going to go to anyone. The value is not real, it's not depending on anything real. Like, for example, the currencies are depending on the economy of the country. The value of the Bitcoin is just depending on news. So it's fake. And the currency is not owned by a company or a country. Nowadays, we have some Bitcoins that are created by some companies. We spoke about the Chinese Bitcoin and the Brazilian Bitcoin. And we said that these can be, because they are supported by a country, and if it is linked to the currency of that country, then you have a strong base to say that this is halal and this can be acceptable. Yes?
Does that go along with all the cryptocurrencies?
Yeah, we are speaking about the cryptocurrencies because the Bitcoin is a separate, and then the sisters are all the cryptocurrencies. So the cryptocurrencies that we are speaking about, Yuan, which is the Chinese, that's a cryptocurrency. We call it Yuan loan or something like that. So all the cryptocurrencies are haram, except those who are linked to a country. There is no ambiguity, and their price is linked to the economy of the country. Anyway, they are linking it, for example, to the Chinese currency or the Brazilian currency. So it has a value for that. So the question comes here, what if I have Bitcoin already and I did not know about all of that? What shall I do? So Allah Azza wa Jal said, وَإِن تُبْتُمْ فَلَكُمْ رُؤُوسُ أَمْوَالِكُمْ. So if you repented, you have your capital investment. So what you need to do is, how much did you pay for buying the Bitcoins? I paid, for example, $2,000. I got one Bitcoin. How much is the Bitcoin at the moment? I think it's 70,000 each Bitcoin, 45 at the moment. So a week ago it was 60. So it's unrealistic. The prices are really unrealistic. So if you are speaking about you invested $2,000, now it's $45,000. You take your $2,000 and you donate the $43,000. So this is what you can do, and that's based on the ayah in Surah Al-Baqarah. So the rest should be donated, and we can help you in your donations, inshallah. Put them in the right place. Now there is something called Forex. And Forex is a system of exchanging currencies and buying some goods like oil and gold and so on online. It's all built on an online transactions. It's known for its currency exchange, and it's of two types. Type 1, where you trade with your own money. So you have a pool of money that you have deposited in the bank, and you use that money, or deposit in Forex, and use that money in order to buy currencies and sell currencies. And the other one, which is Forex usually use, which is the margin. In the margin one, Forex, you have $1,000, will give you $10,000 beside your $1,000. So you will become trading with $11,000. that margin is haram. So doing Forex with a margin is haram. What happens is usually you will be trading with the 11,000. If you are making money, so you will take the money that has been made on 11,000, which is part of it, is not your money. And if you are losing from your own money only. So what will happen at some stage when your loss becomes equal to your investment, Forex will close your account, will sell, take their own money back. Done. Where is your money? Gone. And so that Forex, if it's built on the margin, then it's haram, and we are not allowed to use Forex for currency exchange online. But if you are doing currency exchange on your own, in a way, if there is a way that you do just whatever you have, then there are other things that we need to worry about. We'll speak about them. So the permissible way is when someone put money in his bank account and buy currency, then he sells. In the Forex, they are allowed to sell before buying, which is not permissible. How does that happen? You cannot sell something you don't own. Okay? So for example, you bought a currency, and that currency you purchased, you submitted that you are buying it, that did not come into your account. So you did not own it. You sell it. So you sell it even before buying it, because in order for that transaction to happen, you need to own the thing. So you cannot just sell something you don't own. And there are lots of things that in our daily life happen, and we are making mistakes. And we are going to mention some things that we do which are wrong. The margins are used for Forex of shares from the company, and this is guarantee, which is not permissible. You cannot sell the currency if they don't enter into your account. And this is what I said, by selling before even buying. Because the transaction need to finish and they need to come into your account before you can sell them. We will speak about Centrelink before we go into the long one, which is our currency exchange. A question here about Centrelink, and not just Centrelink in Australia, but there are lots of systems outside. Is it permissible not to declare the income for the purpose of increasing the Centrelink payment? The answer is, of course, no. And any income from Centrelink, because you did not declare your income properly, that is haram. Allah said, "O you who have believed, fulfill the contracts. Awfu bil-uqud." So you have to fulfill the contract. And so the money that comes to you from Centrelink, it's your right. It is permissible to take from Centrelink if the system says that you take this amount from Centrelink. But if the system says you take this amount from Centrelink, but if you are earning money, then you don't take that amount, and you are earning money from under the table, then you are breaking the contract. So this is haram. If you want the contract with Centrelink to earn money from Centrelink, then you need to fulfill the whole contract, which states you cannot earn money without declaring it. Allah Azza wa Jal said, and fulfill the contracts as the contracts is questioned. وَأَوْفُوا الْعَهْدَ إِنَّ الْعَهْدَ كَانَ مَسْئُولًا. So this is the manner of the Muslims. So we have to fulfill the contracts that we enter. And we enter these countries with a treaty to follow the country law. And so we cannot actually break these treaties between us and the country that we are living in. So it is not permissible in Islam not to declare any income for the purpose of taking the Centrelink payments. Recently we had an incident where someone wrote down on the contract, your marital status, I have a partner. What do you mean a partner? Is it your husband? Yeah, but I declare it as a partner. Why do you declare it as a partner? Because you get more from Centrelink if you are not married. So they declare it as a partner instead of a marriage, so they can take more from Centrelink. That's haram. That's absolutely haram. For money, people doing that, that's absolutely unacceptable. All right. Now we go into the currency exchange. And we dig deep actually in the financial system. You know, at the beginning of the Muslim appearance, the Muslims used to use the gold and silver coins. And they used to take it from the Byzantines. So the Byzantines used to make them for the Muslims, and the Muslims used to buy them and use them for buying and selling. So the whole wealth used to happen using these Byzantines, gold and silver. Up until one of the Khalifas who did that for the Muslim empire. So that Khalifa started making the gold and silver, and it continued in the whole world using this up until 300 years ago. Up until 300 years ago, people used gold and silver coins everywhere. Ottoman Empire, everything. 300 years ago, they started a new thing. People started having some shops for currency exchange and transfer money from a country to a country. Okay? So with that, these shops used to be very strong in facilities. They used to have solid safes where because there was no electricity, no drills, nothing, no electric saws, so they used to build these strong safes. Nobody used to be able to open them. So what used to happen is someone who has gold at home, and still people used to use gold up 300 years ago. Who has gold at home, it's not safe for him. He used to go to these currency exchange shops and say, can I keep this with you? And the person, of course, will charge money for keeping the gold. And he will say to him, here is a paper saying that you have with me 200 dinars of gold. So he will go with that piece of paper. He wants to buy a horse. He will go to the horse seller and he will say, see, I have 200 dinars, gold dinars, with so and so. I want to buy this horse. How much is this horse? 50 gold dinars. All right. Here is a paper from me, 50 golden dinars. The horse owner will take it, and he will take it to that currency exchange shop, and he will take the 50 dinars from there. In a way, it's the startup of the bank cards and all of these checks and all of these. So it started by that. So it started by putting the gold or the silver with the money exchanger and get a paper as a proof that he has that gold. So he goes to the customer, then the customer uses this paper to prove he has the gold, and then will give a paper to someone to go take the money from the money exchanger if he buys something from someone. And this is how the notes, $50, $10 started. That was the idea of the start. The money exchangers thought, okay, that's good. Let me start doing something more in order to get more money. Okay, X person, you have with me 10 golden dinars. Here's a paper with 20 golden dinars. But because he has a pool of golden dinars, so he can take from this, give it to this, exchange, like what the bank does now. And so, but if I give you the 20, you will buy from there, you will return them back to me 15 or 25 or 30. So it's the riba. So the money exchanger started using that by issuing papers with gold amount to people even if they don't have, which is the credit card. The same concept. Shaitan is the same from the beginning until now. And they will say to the person, no, it's not interest, it's not riba. I'm not giving you gold. I'm giving you a piece of paper. Here's a piece of paper of 20 golden dinars. I did not give you gold. Just return back to me 30 golden dinars. That's all. So they used to take money on keeping the gold, of course, and they used to take interest as well. So they used to be making double the amount. So they used to make lots of money. Then countries started thinking, why are we allowing these people to do that? It should be controlled by us. So countries themselves stopped the exchanges from issuing these notes, paper notes, and they started issuing them by creating their own banknotes. So a piece of paper that this person has $20 gold coins, 20 gold coins, stamp it from the bank, and nobody can use the exchanges, money exchanges notes, paper notes. So they started it with that way of papers that coming out of the bank. Then, at that stage, they used to issue these banknotes with the same amount of gold they have. So what used to happen is that the amount, that's when we say that the currency is supported by gold. Because the paper that they used to issue equals the amount of gold that is there. And the person, if he wants that paper, he needs to put instead of it gold. And he will take that paper that equals to the gold. So supported with gold. This is how the banknote were issued, and they did not use to be actual money, but just a piece of paper with a bank name and the stamp and the amount of gold in it. All right? It was used to be a paper with the amount available. Countries then used to issue double amount of paper, and then they started issuing the money notes without relating it to golds. And they stopped relying on the golds. So you don't need to have gold in your treasurer or treasury in order to be issuing the amount of money. In World War I and World War II, so still we are with the bank notes and this money that just started. In World War I and World War II, countries did not have enough because 30 years of war took the gold and took everything. It demolished the economy. So the giant country met, and America was the strongest at that time because it did not actually lose much. It was away from everything. And so they said, we want something to strengthen our economy. They said, it's us. We'll take that. We'll support you with whatever money you want, we have, and it's linked to the gold. So they linked the dollar to the gold, the American dollar to the gold. And they said, whoever needs money, you can give him, and they returned back gold. In 1969, France asked America to transfer the loan they owe to USA to gold, not notes. They said, we want not to pay you back notes, the loan that we took because of the World War, we want to pay it back as gold. So the Americans accepted that. But when they started doing that, now they want to strengthen the dollar. The Congress in 1971 stopped that. Said, no more. If you have a loan, you need to pay it back by dollar, not by gold. So they issued a decision that anyone would like to take or pay then with the dollar, not with the gold, and people stopped dealing with the dollar. So they did not want to do that. So they said, no more, we are not taking from you money, we are not doing anything with you, and they stopped dealing with the dollar because they want the gold. So what happened to the dollar? It went down. It collapsed. And so until the trading started happening, like now, for example, if you speak about the oil and gas, with what currency we measure it? With dollar, US dollar. So until it started, all of these big tradings and resources be traded with dollar, then the dollar became a strong currency and picked up. Otherwise, at the late of last century, it was all the way. Like I remember, for example, one Iraqi dinar up until late last century, it used to give 3.3 American dollars. What is now the situation? 1 American dollars can get 2,200 Iraqi dinars. Imagine what happened. And that's because of a catastrophe, which is the war that happened on Iraq. And we have other examples. The scholars decided that these money notes are considered money. They had a big meeting and discussion about whether to consider these notes as money or not. And they considered it as money, like the gold and silver coins, as they are not used anymore. Nobody is using the silver coins anymore to come and buy things. Will bring a gold coin. Nobody is using it. So the people are using that. Imam Malik said, if people took from the leather as a mean to buy and sell, then I will use it. So that is all the way since Imam Malik time. Meaning that Imam Malik was open-minded and opening for ideas of using different things as a value for the money or for the wealth that you have. Imam al-Ghazali is one of those who identified the requirements for any money. What is the definition of money? And we spoke about the definition of money previously. Imam al-Shafi'i said that the issue with money is the value. If something has a value, then it's considered a money. And then finally, Imam Ibn Taymiyyah took all of this and then identified for us the characteristics of the money. And we spoke about this before, that everything, that money is a mean for exchange. So if you are buying things or selling things, it's a mean, you can use it. Criteria for value, so you are saying that this laptop is 200 Australian dollars. So it's a criteria for the value of the thing. Saving of the wealth, so you are saving whatever wealth you have in that thing. So you cannot save your wealth with chairs. So chairs are not money. And a mean to value the debts. So if someone borrowed money or something from someone, it's a mean. So you cannot say, I borrowed from you 4 chairs. Yeah, you can, but this is not something that I will say, well, I owe you 4 chairs if you took it and you are using it. Unless it's an actual loan. So these are the criteria, and this is how the notes that we are using are classified as money based on these characteristics. So in order to exchange gold with gold, now the money in the notes are replacing what? Gold. The hadith that exchanging gold with gold, silver with silver, wheat with wheat, barley with barley, dates with dates, salt with salt, it needs to have 2 conditions, according to the hadith of the Prophet. Yadan biyad, hand by hand, and it needs to be same weight.
Does that mean it has to be physical?
We are going to speak about this because now we are outside the physical world. So the conditions that the Prophet ﷺ put to exchange gold with gold is that they need to be the same weight and they need to be hand by hand. I give you, you give me. Okay? Now, what about the money? Because the money has replaced the gold. So the world agreed that the money of each country represents all the resources in the country. Like for example, if a country has oil or natural resource, the money actually is linked to that. Or it's linked to political position or the strength of the actual country. So the money is one of the criteria of deciding what is wrong with that or what is good with that country. Now the scholars agreed that each country notes are considered different entity, because remember that these notes, this money replaced the gold. And the Prophet ﷺ said gold by gold, hand by hand, amount by amount. So how we are going to get out of that when we have different currencies, and each currency is depending on the resources of that country, depending on the situation of that country. That's why our scholars came after a big discussion and decided that each entity, each currency for a country is different entity. So you can exchange them because they are different. So only one condition is then applicable, which is hand by hand. And this is where we get into problems, which is hand by hand. Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu used to sell the camels with dirhams, and he would say, the price of this camel is 50 dirhams. So that guy will say yes, and then he will take from him, he say, I have dinars only. So the exchange between dirhams and dinars is known at that time, so he will take the price in dinars instead of dirhams. So the scholars took that hadith, which is an authentic hadith, to say that the difference in the currencies is acceptable in Islam, and you can exchange the currencies amongst each other. So the Prophet ﷺ, he asked the Prophet ﷺ about that, and the Prophet ﷺ, he said to him, okay, if hand by hand. So the only condition now is hand by hand. And in another narration, without cheating. So the general rule that loans need to be similar without addition. So if you are getting loan from the same currency, it needs to be similar. You don't need to add. You cannot add or deduct. So there was a story that one person actually was coming from, I think he was coming from Egypt, and he saved money. He went to Lebanon, met someone, and that was in the late maybe 60s. And he said, I have $50,000. I want to leave them with you as a manner. I'll come take them later. So that person said, okay, how about why don't you change them into Lebanese liras? So he changed the $50,000 into Lebanese liras and gave them to the person and went to the West and spent 18 years. And then came back to him and he said, I need my money that I left with you 18 years ago. He said, no problems, you gave me 100,000 Lebanese liras, here is the 100,000 Lebanese liras. 100,000 Lebanese liras worth $200. So the person said to him, fear Allah. He said, Haram, you gave me Lebanese liras, I will give you back Lebanese liras. And so the problem was raised, and they went actually to the head of the European Council of Fatwa, Dr. Ali Qaradagh, which I'm bringing all of this material from him. And they said to him, what shall we do? So he said to that person, of course, if you are speaking about perspectives, it needs to be Lebanese lira by Lebanese lira, equal. You cannot. So he said to him, I want to ask you, that 100,000 Lebanese liras, when he gave it to you, what did you do with it? He said, I bought a house and a factory and a Mercedes. He said to him, now the same amount of Lebanese lira worth $200. Okay, return back the house. He said, I cannot. Return back the factory that you bought with his money, or a Mercedes. He said, the Mercedes is too expensive, I cannot afford to buy it. So then he said to him, if this is the case, then return him back the $50,000. So for that person accepted to return back the $50,000, which is what's worth at that time. And so it was really a big debate. And then after that, Dr. Ali Quradaghi wrote down a full book about the equality of wealth or money. Is it a value or similarity with the amount? When can we actually accept it's only the similarity of the amount, or it's the value of the money? And even they went back and they found that even the scholars at the age of Imam Ahmad and Imam Malik and Imam Shafi were speaking about the catastrophes that might appear and the value of the things that change. For example, if you go and buy water in the desert, at that time, the cost of water is high because you cannot take the water from him in the desert and then come in the city and say to him, oh, the water price is this, here is the amount. Or here is water instead of the water that you gave me. Why? Because that water over there was pricey and it required lots of work to bring it there compared to the city. And there are sometimes catastrophes that will happen where the person, for example, will lose the value of the wealth that he has. Like what happened I spoke about Iraqi dinar. So a woman was married before 2005. And her dowry, because in the Middle East there is the instant dowry and there is the delayed dowry. So the delayed dowry was something around 2,000 or 3,000 Iraqi dinars. So that equals $10,000. Now, after 2005, she got divorced. So giving her the 3,000 Iraqi dinars is just $1. So compare the dowry before with the dowry after. The woman went to the court and raised the case. I need my right. My right is not just the 3,000 Iraqi dinars, which worth around $1. It was at that time $10,000. So the value, and that's where the court actually went with the Islamic value, so it needs to be equal. And they said, no, we cannot. And then she raised it to the second level of course, and then the third level of course, which looked at the value. And then they said, yes, it needs to be paid as a value. So looking at that, the exchange here, rate, the amount, is really important. Yemeni, before the war and after the war. So before the war, Yemeni money used to be equal to Saudi money. After the war, one Saudi riyal equals 100 Yemeni riyal. So look how the currency went down. So it is something that needs to be taken into account. Allah Azza wa Jal said, and if repentant, then for you is your capital, and that can be applied to our case here. The Hanafis, actually the late Hanafis of the scholars, they said if something like this happened, they need to share the loss. Some scholars spoke about the catastrophes and the effect of that on the value of the money, and they said if the value of the money dropped by 2/3, then we need to consider the value, not the amount of dollars or dinars. Imam Zarqa, rahimahullah, one of the scholars in Jordan, he is well known. He said if it dropped by 1/3, then we need to go back to the value rather than the actual money. So they tried to revive that. And that's part of the justice of Islam, because Islam is built on the justice, and the justice is not to take money, return back money with less value. Now selling dollar to dollar, there is no difference in amount and need to be hand by hand. And this is, for example, happening if someone is going for exchange. I have $100, I want change. It needs to be on the spot, $100 equals $100.
Well, bank transfer.
Hand by hand. We are coming to that.
Normally exchange currencies, they put a rate.
So if you are dollars for dollars, there is no rate.
Like Australian or
Australian.
okay.
So you are giving $100, saying, give me some notes, the exchange.
Yeah, I get it.
It needs to be equal.
I thought
At some stage, for example, in Saudi Arabia, they used to sell the 10 riyals by 9 riyals coins. Why? Because they were used for the telephone. So you use them for, you need the coins. They will say, here's 10 riyals, you will take 9 coins of 10 cents. So that's haram, that's riba. 100% riba. I remember that 1993 when I first went there, and they were saying, I need coins. He said, give me 10 riyals, I will give you 9. I said, that's riba, you cannot do that. No, this is the deal here. I said, no need. Exchanging different currencies can happen without, and they must happen without delay. Because we said hand by hand. And now you need to think about what happens in our world. Is there a delay of delivery because of some transactions? Money should not be the good for business, but stay as means, and that's why riba was in the money. It was not in the other things. Let me go over it. I have 2 more slides, and then because I might answer your questions. It is permissible to work in money exchange and make it a business under conditions. Money exchange used to be at the same time, whether physical by hand or in the bank account. So if I'm exchanging money, whether they gave it to me physically, I gave him physically, or I am using my bank account. There are types of bank accounts, not separate banks, like the credit cards. The credit cards, they don't take the money instantly. And I don't pay the money instantly. So it's not hand by hand. So can I use the credit cards for money exchange? Nope. Can I use the credit cards for money transfer? Nope. So doing online transfer, and I have a credit card, I take the credit card and send money overseas. No, you cannot.
You mean credit card or debit card?
Credit card.
Yeah.
Debit card, we spoke about it because that's your money. It will go instantly from your account. Credit card, you cannot. Similarity in the same money type, even if there is different physical types like notes and coins, should not have a time condition to pay the currency. I will pay you now, you pay me in 2 days. Cannot. Not to be for the reason of monopoly and affecting the company. Some people, they do that in order to affect the currency. So they hold the money until it rises and then they sell it. That's unacceptable for an exchange. Not to be delayed paid in the delayed paid market. So the delayed paid market is something that is existing. Everyone is just delaying his payments. I will pay you. Here, give me the money, I will pay you in
Also,
2 days.
pay is it halal, huh?
After pay, money against money, it's not halal. Money against goods, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so the exchange. So I will give you Australian dollars. Give me the American dollars in 2 weeks. Cannot.
Oh, but it's fine if like you buy this bottle but you pay it for every 4
That's
weeks.
fine.
Oh,
That's
okay.
different. We spoke about this. Currency exchange with denied payment is not permissible. The definition of hand by hand is critical. Although now all the transactions in bank are not hand by hand, but actually they enter the account. So that's a guarantee. Imam Ahmad said that hand by hand is meant that there is no option for no delivery. So that's the wisdom behind hand by hand. So no one is going to cheat someone and not deliver to him. That's why the Prophet ﷺ said hand by hand. Money in the account is stronger than physical hand by hand. So if someone is using his debit card for money exchange, that's stronger. It is essential for both types of currency to be delivered to the owners in the exchange, even if it is in the account. No problems. Money transfer is considered as hand by hand with the same setting. We have some practices that Faris comes to me and say, I want to send money to Jordan. I will give you money here and you give my parents money. Correct?
It's haram.
If it's not instantly, that's a problem. Because hand by hand.
But it's hand by hand from you to that guy, and it's hand by hand from him to your parents.
Yeah, but it needs to be in the same setting. When we say same setting, that we are sitting in this area, we are not leaving before this happens. This is how serious the matter is, and people are just not taking really attention to what's happening. Let me finish it and then you can ask. Money transfer, when you do through, for example, this Western Union, it goes straight away and you have a sort of a guarantee. So we received your money. It will be delivered. Within 15 minutes, it can be picked up. So 15 minutes, it's as if we are sitting here. You give me the money. Okay, within 15 minutes, I gave you the money. We are in the same sitting. That is acceptable. But we are not speaking about delays of days or something like that. Receiving a check is considered hand by hand because it's guaranteed money, especially if the money is in the account. But if there is no money in the account, this is where the problem comes. So it's not just someone is cheating, but it's haram. Using the card, if there is money in the account apart from the Visa cards, is permissible. Visa card is not permissible. Promising in money exchange is not permissible. Give me $10, I promise you in 2 days I will give you back. No, it's not permissible. Taking different currency as a payback of a loan is permissible. Like someone loaned you $200 Australian dollars. He said, I have American dollars. How much is the currency exchange? This amount. Both agreed, that's fine.
I don't get the point before promising in money exchange is not permissible.
So I'm coming to you and saying, I'll give you 200 Australian dollars now, and you promise me that in 2 days' time you give me the American dollars. Okay? Not a loan. A loan is fine.
Yeah.
Because the money is coming back. Now, questions. Yes, sister.
So it's not permissible, for example, to call someone back home and say that, can you give so amounts to my parents? I'll send the money back to you. So that is haram.
If it's not instant in the same, it needs to be in the same. Like you are sending the Western Union now and say, go pick the money from Western Union and deliver them to my parents.
How about if you didn't know before, so you just have to repent to them? Because sometimes...
Yeah. That's why the money exchange, money transfer, all of this hand by hand, need to be hand by hand. If you transferred the money to the person and he saw that he has that money guaranteed for him, then he can deliver even if he did not pick the money because that's guarantee. So the whole concept is the guarantee that the money is going to be delivered. But send and then in 2-3 days I will send you the transfer.
It's like a loan. Sometimes I do call say, can you give so amount to my parents, and after a few days I will give you back your money.
If you are saying a loan, that's fine, but you are changing currencies. This is a problem.
Okay, so loan is fine.
Yeah,
okay.
Like someone, for example, and this is a problem. Someone is buying, for example, and this happens with the companies, someone is buying some goods from overseas by the pounds. And they bought the goods, they sold the goods, took the money back, profit is 10%. And the payment conditions, for example, is you need to pay after 6 months. In 6 months' time, currency went down. Or currency went up. That's all need to be considered. It's very complicated. The finances and the money fiqh is very complicated, and we need to be careful, especially with this complicated.
What about in the case of an absolute dire necessity where you have a relative overseas, let's say in a third world country, and they need money for an operation? and like you don't get paid until Friday. So you say, okay, put up another family member, you ask them to give them the money and they
Lend me the money.
Yeah, that's fine. Even before,
If you are-
you go to like Italy, and you give the money.
Like for
example,
example,
Italy, come on. Yeah, and then you give
lend
that
me the
to
money.
them. Yeah.
Lend me the money.
If it's, those people are in that country, that's fine.
yeah.
But when you exchange your money, you need to pay him the same amount
Yeah.
as a payback of a loan. So for example, 250 American dollars. Can you please lend me $250 American dollars and give them to my mother?
So lend it to you and then you send it to them. Why can't they just pay it straight to the mum?
You can.
Yeah. And then
That's
you pay them.
better.
So, before my parents came here, they used to live in Qatar, and they used to send me money every month. But because in Qatar to Australia, it has to go through another bank and then to Australia. So it takes around 3 days until the money reaches me. So
Is there a guarantee for that? Because 3 days is too long. It needs to be hand by hand and in the same sitting.
how
That's why it's very tricky.
they were dealing with Islamic banks.
It's already gone.
Yeah, I know it's gone.
No need to discuss it anymore.
But it's just like in
If
Canada.
it's coming later, then we can discuss it. Okay?
What about
Yes,
that?
Ahmed.
So when I go to Egypt, I want Egyptian dollars. So I would pay the guy, let's say, he works in the black market with the currency. So I'd give him 2 days before, and after 2 days he would give me back.
Nope.
Oh,
No. That's money exchange. It needs to be hand by hand. Okay? Yes.
So what about, for example, if you're buying a product from an overseas country that you want to sell here, let's say clothes, and let's say it's in Malaysia. So you pay for the product overseas, and there's someone in that country that's helping you ship it over here, and there's an app that you can use to pay from Australian dollars and it converts the currency. But they receive the money, but it's going to take 2 or 3 days. But there's a guarantee. You send them a receipt saying you're going to receive the money at this point in time.
That's why I encourage to use the instant transfers, even if it's more expensive, because it complies with the Islamic regulations of hand to hand.
Is there instant transfers internationally?
Yeah. Any country in the world. Just within 15 minutes, the other person can pick the money. Even though they take more cost, it costs more
So
to
what's the
transfer.
difference between, for example, if I...
2 days is a delay, and we said that delay in the money exchange is not permissible in Islam.
So what about if I transfer money to you with a different bank and you get it 2 days later? Is there a difference there?
What's guaranteed?
For what? Why did you pay me these two money?
For example, banks transfer. If I'm with-
That's fine. I'm speaking about money exchange or bank transfer to other countries. Okay?
I'm still confused with it between the money exchange and that taking loan, like saying that, can you lend me this money, I'll replace the money back. So
That's a different story. Now, with the lend the money, you are saying to him, you are dealing with him with the same amount, type of money. You are not exchanging currency. You are not saying to him, what's the currency in your country? What's the currency in your country?
Leons.
Leons. You are not. You are not saying to him, give me this leons, I will give you this $300. This is money exchange. You're saying to him, lend me 250 leons, give them to my mother,
Yeah.
I will return back the 250 leons in 5 days. That's lending money. So how did you return back that money? Through money transfer. When you put, for example, when I put in Western Union, I put 250 leons to be delivered to that person. How much is the money that I'm paying in Australian dollar? That's my business.
Okay. Yeah. That's
Okay.
how I usually do.
All right. All right. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك.